My team is great. So why don't I feel like I belong? If you ever had this thought and then immediately felt guilt for having it, stay with me. Because the answer has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the space you're in. I once started a new job, and on my first day, HR told me that the work hours were quite strict, including 1 hour lunch break with the whole team. And HR said they couldn't technically force me to attend, but the expectation was clearly there. So I attended, of course, I wanted to belong. And the people were genuinely nice, but it felt wrong that I had to be there because they wanted me to attend, not because I wanted really to be there on my own. It wasn't my decision. Same with team events. They used to invite not only the employees, but also their partners and kids. And I didn't like that. I didn't want my personal and my professional life to be mixed like that. So I usually attended alone and watched everyone else mix together so well, making me feel like there was no space for me there. Even though, same thing, the people were nice. And the work itself had problems as well. I didn't really have something on my own. I needed a project or process, anything that would be completely mine. But the boundaries of my decision space were never clearly defined. So I went there to ask questions. And me asking them confirmed to them that I wasn't ready to take on the responsibility. I was stuck in some kind of strange loop. And everyone else around me didn't seem to have this problem. They were all fine. So I decided I was the problem. Here's what I know now. Belonging isn't about the people. It's about whether the environment was built for someone like you. And most environments were never intentionally built at all. Not maliciously and not carelessly, just nobody sat down and designed the conditions. They hired good people and they wrote values on the wall and hoped the rest would follow. And for some people, the ones the environment happened to suit, it worked. And for others, it didn't. They spent months, sometimes years, trying to figure out what was wrong with them. Nothing was wrong with them. The conditions just were never designed for them. So how do you read the environment you're in? I think of it in terms of 4 sliders, 4 conditions, set at a different level for each environment you'll ever work in. The first one is autonomy. How much independence does this environment offer? And how much do you actually need? This one is genuinely individual. Some people do their best work with close support, regular check-ins, and someone to think with. Others need to own their work completely, to make decisions, carry the outcome, and build something that is recognizably theirs. Neither is wrong, but when what you need and what the environment offers are 2 different things, you feel it as friction, as the specific exhaustion of moving through water instead of air. The second is boundary clarity. Do you know where the edges are? Not whether the edges exist. They always exist in every role, every company. The question is whether anyone has named them, whether you know exactly what's yours to decide and what isn't, whether you can move freely without worrying you're about to step somewhere invisible. This one isn't individual preference. Clarity is universally better. Some environments have never identified and examined their own edges. Nobody mapped them and nobody defined them. And so people navigate by feel and stay close to what feels safe and familiar without knowing how much space they actually have. When boundary clarity is low, ownership becomes impossible. And without ownership, even a small piece of the space that is recognizably yours, you can't belong. You can only visit. But belonging isn't just how you move through the space. It's also about why you're there in the first place. The third is mission belief. Do you actually care about what the company is building? Not perform caring and not to respect intellectually. Actually feel it. Wake up and think, this matters and I want to be a part of it. This one raises the ceiling of how much you can give. Low mission belief doesn't mean you can't do good work, but it means you do it for the people and the paycheck, not the purpose. That's sustainable for a while, but over time it erodes something. The fourth is human value alignment. Do you recognize yourself in how the people operate here? in how they think what matters, how they treat each other, and what they're unwilling to compromise on. This one is the most dangerous of all, because when it's high, it masks everything around it. You can be deeply misaligned in autonomy, operating in an undesigned environment, barely believing in the mission, and still stay. Because the people feel like your people. And that feeling is real, it's just not enough on its own. Score your current environment on all 4. Not on a scale of good and bad, on a scale of match. Does the autonomy level match what you need? Is there genuine clarity on where the edges are? Do you believe in what they're building? Do you recognize yourself in how the people operate? And then, and this is the most important part, ask one more question. Is this a structural mismatch or an undesigned environment? Because those are 2 completely different situations that feel identical from the inside. A structural mismatch means the environment was designed, just not for you. It's working exactly as intended. It just wasn't intended for someone like you. No conversation fixes this. No amount of patience or adjustment. This is just information. And information points toward a decision. An undesigned environment means the conditions were never intentionally built. The boundaries are unclear because nobody defined them. The autonomy level was never discussed. This is potentially fixable. Not always and not easily, but sometimes a conversation or a request and a manager willing to examine what was never examined, sometimes it's enough. Don't quit an undesigned environment without trying to name what's missing. And don't try fixing a structural mismatch by working harder. Know which one you're in first. I spent months thinking I was the problem in that job. Too rigid and too demanding and probably not adaptable enough. But what I actually needed was to read the environment accurately. When I finally did, I saw it clearly. The boundary clarity was never there. Not by design, just never built. And without that, I couldn't own anything. And without ownership, I couldn't belong. I was performing competence in a space that was never mine. And underneath all that, quietly the whole time, the mission belief was 0. I didn't care about what we were building at all. I only felt how much that had been costing me when another offer landed. And the mission actually mattered. The people were good. The human values aligned. Both of those things were real. But the conditions were never built, and the mission was never mine. Both things were true at the same time. And that's not failure, that's signal. So if you're sitting in your car after a team lunch that ran too long, relieved that you're finally alone, thinking about what's wrong with you, nothing is wrong with you. You just haven't read the environment yet. Score the 4 sliders, ask the one question, and let the answer tell you what to do next. If you want to stop guessing why things feel off and start reading the signals clearly, this is the right space. See you next Friday.